Good morning, I'm Gio Benito.
And I'm Janae Norman. Here are the top 5 things to know this Thursday. Number 1, a major development in the El Paso shooting investigation.
The mother of the man charged in the Walmart rampage says she called police weeks before the attack, concerned he had an assault rifle. A family attorney said the mother did not believe her son posed a threat, but she worried he was too immature to own an AK-style weapon.
Number 2 now, new details about a major immigration raid. Agents say nearly 700 undocumented workers have been arrested across Mississippi.
They were rounded up at food processing plants. It's being called the largest immigration enforcement sweep in one state in U.S. history. Managers of those plants could also face charges.
And imagine this, the raids have left some young children without parents. Community leaders house some of the children at shelters overnight.
On to number 3 now, the severe weather hitting millions of Americans across the east.
Look at this tornado that touched down in Springfield, New Jersey Wednesday. Video shows how hard it was to drive in the area with all that debris flying around. The storm also flooded roads across the Philadelphia area and as far north as Connecticut, where people had to be rescued. Airport delays were up to 5 hours long.
Lightning was the big concern around Norfolk, Virginia, where a church was hit, but no major damage is reported.
Number 4 now, U.S. Olympic champion Simone Biles is blasting USA Gymnastics in a new interview, claiming she still cannot trust the organization in the wake of the Larry Nassar sexual abuse scandal.
Biles revealed last year that she was one of Dr. Nassar's victims. She says she is still traumatized and says there's no manual for healing from the scars of abuse. The gold medalist says she's reminded every day of that abuse.
She spoke Wednesday as she began pursuing her 6th championship title.
It's hard coming here for an organization and having had them failed us so many times. And we had won gold. We've done everything that they asked us for, even when we didn't want to, and they couldn't do one damn job. You had one job. You literally had one job, and you couldn't protect us. And it's just really sad. It's just hard, and we try to work through it, but it'll take some time. I'm strong. I'll get through it, but it's hard.
Absolutely strong, and still so much love to her and all those victims. Biles says she is still in therapy to try to heal. Nassar was given a life sentence after pleading guilty to multiple sex crimes.
And finally here, number 5, an actor known for playing bad guys turned into a real-life hero in L.A.
Danny Trejo helped save a special needs child from this rollover crash. The boy and his grandmother were trapped after another car ran a red light and hit their vehicle.
Crawled into the wreck and helped free the boy.
Kid, he was panicked, and I said, okay, we have to use our superpowers. And so he screamed, superpowers, and we started like yelling superpowers. And I said, do this, do the muscles, and he's muscles, and so we got kind of like a bond, I guess. He was
so great. Trejo is best known for the character Machete he played in several films. He said everything good in his life has been a result of helping others. Just another reason to go out and help.
Good for him, good for him.
All right, let's get right to that big story this morning. A new development in the El Paso massacre. The suspect's mother has now revealed that she contacted police weeks before the shooting.
Yeah, family attorney says the mother was worried her son wasn't mature enough to own a high-powered rifle as he faces capital murder charges. President Trump traveled to both cities reeling from the mass shootings. He was met by hundreds of protesters and took aim at his political rivals. Let's get right over to ABC's Mona Kozar-Abdi. She is here now with all of the new details. Mona, good morning to you.
Good morning, Gio, and good morning, Janae. President Trump said that his visits to El Paso and Dayton were warm and welcoming, then attacked local lawmakers who he says mischaracterized his trip. President Trump's calls for unity and healing overshadowed by his polarizing visit to console 2 grieving communities. Trump and First Lady Melania first touching down in Dayton, Ohio. Miami Valley Hospital releasing this image of the president's visit there, greeting staff, thanking first responders, and consoling victims.
All over the world, they're talking about the job you've done as police, as law enforcement, as first responders.
But outside the hospital doors, hundreds lining the streets. Later, a similar scene as Air Force One touched down in El Paso, grieving residents there blaming his words for sparking violence.
A lot of this, all this anger gets promoted across the nation, and it needs to stop.
Authorities say the suspected shooter, 21-year-old Patrick Crucius, targeted Mexicans in particular inside the El Paso Walmart. Crucius stated that, quote, "This attack is a response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas," mirroring language Trump used a few months prior. President Trump defending his words.
I don't think my rhetoric has at all. I think my rhetoric is it brings people together.
We're also learning that Crucius's mother allegedly called police weeks before the shooting, concerned about her son owning a, quote, AK-type firearm. Lawyers for the family say she was transferred to a public safety officer who allegedly stated her son was legally allowed to purchase the weapon. They say the call was informational, not a safety concern. And today, an Ohio school board is set to decide whether to release the Dayton shooter school record. Classmates say he was suspended once back in high school for compiling a rape and kill list. So far, the district has refused to release those records, citing privacy laws. Janae and Gio.
And Mona, we will certainly be watching to see what that district decides.
Yeah,
thanks so much for joining us this morning. And in the aftermath of the El Paso massacre, the Trump campaign is defending ads it posted on Facebook highlighting the word invasion. The ads warned of an invasion of migrants at the border. A white nationalist screed believed to be written by the gunman rails against a so-called Hispanic invasion of Texas. But the campaign's communications director said, quote, "Democrats and the media are trying to make it impossible to impose illegal immigration without being called racist."
Another sign that the nation is on edge and skittish after those deadly back-to-back mass shootings.
The Virginia headquarters for USA Today, one of the nation's most prominent newspapers, was evacuated following reports of a man with a gun. You can see some of the hundreds of employees. Many of them scrambled to flee the building. Police later determining it was a false alarm after an extensive search. Well, now to what's being called the largest immigration enforcement sweep in one state in U.S. history.
On Wednesday morning, agents from U.S. Immigrations and Customs, along with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Mississippi, executed federal warrants at 7 chicken processing plants across central Mississippi. Agents on foot and in the air at this Pico chicken processing plant in Madison County. The mayor of Canton, unaware of the raid, learned about it through word of mouth.
I now know that they are documenting and identifying illegal immigrants and those versus who are legal.
Buses pulling into the plant empty, later filled with hundreds of people now in federal custody. In Morton, workers were rounded up at the Koch Foods processing plant and then driven away.
I kind of feel bad for them because they over here trying to make a living like everybody else, you know. It's rough over there where they at, so you got to come somewhere else just to order to live, you know, the life you want to live. So I don't know. I don't understand it.
ICE's Homeland Security Investigations Team says the raids not only focused on aliens unlawfully seeking work in the U.S., it is zeroing in on employers who knowingly hire them. This woman says there's another area of focus that should not be forgotten about.
I'm concerned about the kids. What actions are going to be done to take care of the children? I really want to see that. I don't want to see the kids in cages with no food, no sanitary conditions. I want them to be able to be taken care of.
In addition to the children, some people, including Canton's mayor, are wondering will the plants that were raided stay operational.
My main concern is also what happens to Pico's workforce and how that's going to impact our city.
Troy Johnson, 16 WAPT News.
Immigration raids on businesses were common under President George W. Bush, but President Barack Obama avoided them. President Trump has resumed the practice, but they're uncommon due to the amount of preparation and resources required.
Well, moving on, former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich may soon get out of prison. President Trump told reporters last night that he is seriously considering commuting the corruption sentence of the former Celebrity Apprentice contestant. Blagojevich has served 7 years of his 14-year sentence.
The U.S. financial markets seem to be on a roller coaster right now. The Dow and other indexes plunged sharply after that opening bell, then recovered most of their losses. Investors are worried that the trade war with China will spark a global recession. Now, yesterday's recovery was powered by technology and consumer staples and bargain hunting.
Well, now to the third leadership change in a week in Puerto Rico. Justice Secretary Wanda Vazquez was sworn in as governor on Wednesday. That's after the island Supreme Court overturned the swearing in of Pedro Pierluisi on Friday. He took office after Ricardo Rossello resigned following weeks of protests. Vasquez had previously turned down the job, saying she didn't want it. But on Wednesday, she said the island needs certainty and stability.
The FDA is now investigating 127 cases of people suffering seizures after vaping.
The agency has received 92 new reports of people, especially kids and young adults, having seizures after using e-cigarettes. That's since it first announced the investigation in April. The FDA says they have not established a clear pattern or causes for the cases. E-cigarettes liquids contain high concentrations of nicotine.
Doing something similar with regular cigarettes is impossible because it would burn their lungs, they'd be coughing, they'd get nauseated and sick. They could never have enough regular cigarettes. But with these sweet and fruity and mild vapors that are rich in nicotine, equivalent to that of a regular cigarette, it's possible to overdose on the nicotine. And I believe that's most likely what we're seeing with this rash of seizures amongst American teenagers.
Possible to overdose on nicotine. The FDA said it's unclear whether e-cigarettes caused the seizures, and they note that the cases occurred over a 10-year period. Well, it'll be no Roman holiday if you sit down in the wrong place in the Italian city.
Yeah, Rome's official tourism website describes the famous Spanish Steps as a place for a pleasant rest, but not as of a month ago. Sitting, eating, or drinking on that landmark are no longer permitted. Officials say Rome is one big open-air museum and tourists should behave. We get that. And not doing so could cost as much as $450. That's what the fee is.
So when in Rome, don't sit. Don't sit on the stairs. Coming up, the group of famous models taking on Victoria's Secret.
Why they are demanding the company CEO sign an anti-harassment pledge right after this. Liking the music here. Yeah. Welcome back now to the Tennessee woman who has a lot to celebrate after she became a one-woman movement. Activists, celebrities, human rights organizations, they all rallied around her cause after she was sentenced to life in prison as a juvenile. This morning, Cyntoia Brown is enjoying her first full day of freedom exactly 15 years after her arrest in 2004.
Because of her extraordinary record of rehabilitation, that she was a candidate for executive clemency.
Brown, now 31, was sentenced to life in prison for killing a man when she was 16. Prosecutors at the time said she shot a man she was trying to rob, but her lawyers claimed it was self-defense and she was being forced into sex trafficking.
When I was 16, I did a horrible thing, and I have carried that with me this whole time. What I did was horrible. There's nothing to say to justify it. You can't justify it. You can't. You know, I killed Johnny Allen. He's gone.
Former Tennessee Governor Bill Haslam commuted her sentence on his last day in office.
I do think we made the right decision, but we tried to make it kind of absent all the noise.
Her case garnered national attention for years, drawing support from high-profile celebrities, including Rihanna and Kim Kardashian West. This morning, Kardashian tweeting, yes, and LeBron James adding, Cyntoia Brown, welcome home. While in prison, Brown earned 2 college degrees and mentored other young offenders. She also wrote a memoir, Free Cyntoia, and even got married behind bars.
This truly is a story of rehabilitation, redemption. That's what you want out of your correction system.
Brown released a statement just before her release saying, while first giving honor to God who made all of this possible, I would also like to thank my many supporters who have spoken on my behalf and prayed for me. I look forward to using my experiences to help other women and girls suffering abuse and exploitation. And Brown is requesting privacy and what her lawyer calls transition time before granting any interviews. Her book is being released in October, and a documentary about her case is due out later this week.
Well, now let's lighten it up and get a check of our notifications, starting with cuteness overload. Red pandas. Not just any red pandas,
Look
but triplets.
At them.
Triplets. Born at the Kansas City Zoo. It is rare to have triplets, but the babies and mama are all doing well.
Oh, so cute right there. Speaking of cute, here's a dog who's enjoying summer right now. He doesn't want to wake up. We know the feeling.
Don't blame him.
I get it, buddy. I get it.
Just enjoying that sun. And check out this pizza chef juggling dough like a champ. Like, this is so impressive. Gotta love ESPN 8, the Ocho, part of our parent company, Disney. But, I mean, this guy is unbelievable with the dough.
Look at, yes, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Right.
Yeah, and speaking of smooth moves, watch this woman break it down. In an ATM vestibule.
And she had just finished a voguing class.
Which is incredible.
Which is like amazing. But
and you
wow.
see, she should have been teaching it.
Wow.
Yeah.
She belongs on Pose.
Yeah.
Come on, cast her now. All right, next to those reboots in the pipeline, earlier this week, our parent company Disney announced that it had plans to reimagine several famous films like Cheaper by the Dozen, Night at the Museum, and of course that Christmas classic, Home Alone.
Yeah, so the film starred Macaulay Culkin as Kevin McAllister. When it came out in 1990, Culkin was 10 years old. Now he's 38, and he's weighing in on these plans for a new version.
Culkin tweeted this photo of himself with the caption, "This is what an updated Home Alone would actually look like," recreating the scene when Kevin binge eats junk food at home while his family is stranded in Paris.
Culkin followed up with a tweet that said, "Hey, Disney, call me."
Oh, I bet.
Oh, my goodness. Well, now to another sequel in the works, coming to America. We've been telling you about it. Eddie Murphy is already on board to play Prince Akeem in the follow-up to the 1988 comedy called Coming to America.
I love that.
Get
Two. James Earl Jones and Arsenio Hall will also reprise their roles from the original movie. But there are several A-listers joining the sequel, including SNL star Leslie Jones, actor Wesley Snipes, and rapper Rick Ross.
The sequel will focus on Prince Akeem returning to America to find a long-lost son in Queens. Coming to America, set for release next August. Start counting down the days. Can't wait.
Yep, and don't touch something if you don't know the consequences.
So that advice came from this woman who put an octopus on her face. Yep. She was in a fishing derby, asked some other contestants to snap a photo of it on her mug, and it bit her. She said she bled for 30 minutes, and 2 days later, part of her face was paralyzed. The swelling may not go away for months. Wild animals, be careful with them.
I mean, just don't.
Yeah.
Just don't. We hope she's okay, but just do not.
And that brings us to the question of the day. What are some things that you've done that you immediately regretted? Put an octopus on your face? Tell us in the comments or tweet us at ABC News Live.
All right, and we're going to turn now to new trouble for Victoria's Secret. More than 100 models, they're demanding that the company do more to fight sexual abuse and harassment.
It comes as Leslie Wexner, the head of Victoria's Secret's parent company, speaks out about his relationship with disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein.
This morning, dozens of supermodels are walking the walk in a movement that now has Victoria's Secret under the microscope. More than 100 models and Time's Up supporters, including supermodel Christy Turlington Burns and former Victoria's Secret angel Doutzen Kroes, have signed their names to an open letter sent to the lingerie giant CEO, asking the company to take action to protect its models against sexual misconduct and sign an anti-harassment pledge. Model Alliance founder Sarah Ziff says because of the way models are hired and fired at will, speaking up could be a major career risk.
A lot of the time, our agencies are trying to make the brands happy. We're disposable. You know, we come and go. It makes you that much more vulnerable, and it makes you feel like you can just be replaced, so you don't want to speak up.
The open letter follows allegations of sexual misconduct by several industry photographers and allegations that Leslie Wexner, the head of Victoria's Secret's parent company, knew that financier Jeffrey Epstein, who's accused of exploiting and abusing dozens of minor girls, would try to pass himself off as a Victoria's Secret talent scout, allegedly using his friendship with Wexner to get close to young women. In a letter obtained overnight by ABC News, Wexner responded, "I have spent time reflecting and searching for answers as to how this could have happened. My heart goes out to each person who has suffered unthinkable pain, and I pray for their healing."
In the face of all of these very serious allegations, we felt that we couldn't just sit silently and not say anything.
Victoria's Secret telling ABC News, "We are always concerned about the welfare of our models and want to continue to have dialogue with the Model Alliance and others to accomplish meaningful progress in the industry."
Meanwhile, Wexner continues to distance himself from Epstein, saying Epstein misappropriated vast sums of money from him. So we'll be watching that. Well, coming up, we're celebrating Jamaican Independence Week.
And we are sampling some of the island's most mouth-watering cuisines with a celebrity chef. Stay tuned for his story right after this.
Here's what to watch out for today. The Iowa State Fair begins today, and Democratic presidential candidates will make their case to the first primary state's voters on the fair's political soapbox. Former Vice President Joe Biden and Montana's Governor Steve Bullock kick off the speeches, and you can watch right here on ABC News Live at 1:45 Eastern.
NOAA will issue an updated forecast to its 2019 Atlantic hurricane season outlook. So far, the season has seen only 2 named storms, but with only Barry reaching hurricane levels. And Ready, Set, Rubber Ducky. The annual rubber duck race benefiting the Special Olympics takes place today in Chicago. Thousands of spectators will line the Chicago River to watch more than 60,000 rubber ducks race toward the finish line.
Plus, don't forget to tune in to the debrief for an update on all our top stories and the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics.
All right, Jamaica caps off celebrating. I thought that was your line. It's my line. That's Jamaica right. Caps off celebrating 57 years of independence this week.
And this morning, we're meeting a celebrity chef whose Jamaican roots are inspiring a cuisine that pays homage to his homeland, one dish at a time.
I was making a steamed cabbage, and I accidentally spilled curry inside the cabbage.
Yeah. Chef Patrick Simpson distinctively remembers his curried cabbage failure in the kitchen as a moment that would kickstart his climb to becoming a celebrity chef.
So my sister started laughing at me, and in the middle of she laughing, I start crying. And I said to her, I'm going to show you that I can cook. One day I'm going to be a chef.
And he did. Now an executive corporate chef who served presidents, rappers, actors, even our own Michael Strahan. But his journey from Jamaica wasn't an easy one.
Sleeping on the cold concrete, you know, you're homeless.
Knowing he wanted to work in food and nutrition, Chef Patrick worked his way up from the local hotels where he hid on the property for places to sleep while homeless, to eventually becoming a sous chef and executive chef for Royal Caribbean Cruises. He later moved to Florida to work at Disney before landing in New York City. But despite how far he'd come, Patrick says there was a point when he wasn't sure he could go on.
I've contemplated suicide.
Telling us about the time at a number 2 subway station he contemplated taking his own life.
I stand there and I count 3 trains go by me with my eyes closed, trying to make up my mind. My headphone was on. I was listening to Can't Give Up Now by Mary Mary. And I don't know how I took one step back. That's the reason why I'm here now, because I didn't give up, and I keep pushing myself and tell myself, one more day, one more day.
With a renewed sense of purpose, Chef Patrick was back at it, bouncing around restaurants in New York City, now serving as corporate executive chef, and even recognized as an ambassador by the Prime Minister of his native island. Chef Patrick often returns to Jamaica, and on a recent trip, reflecting on just how far he's come.
I stayed in the executive suite at the top of the hotel on the 14th floor. I was actually looking down on all the places
that you used to sleep.
That I used to sleep.
And tell me what else was going through your mind as you look over at that spot, thinking back on the journey.
There's so much that was going through my mind. There's so much.
As we talked with the chef about his path to success, we had to talk about one of the most important parts helping pave the way, his food.
What is it about food that brings people together?
We want to create something that's enjoyable and something that's memorable, and it's a part of us. It's a part of me. It's a part of my heart that I just shared to you at the table.
And lucky for us, the chef had an apron for me and shared some of his secrets in the kitchen.
We're going to do a bourbon jerk lobster. That's what we're going to do.
So we start with lobster and season it up, adding some garlic powder, salt and pepper, red chili flakes. I added extra. And then some scallion, green bell pepper, fresh garlic, and mango, and marinate it with oil.
And now you're going to put that in there.
We added bourbon and jerk sauce, more bourbon, and then more seasoning.
Bam! This is good.
As the chef shares his passion through food here in the U.S., he's also giving back to Jamaica.
I decided, okay, I'm going to open a culinary school. It's going to be about 150 kids. They don't have to pay anything. It's basically comes out of my pocket. And just give them, and after they graduate, they also get job placement.
Chef Patrick is aiming to serve youth in Jamaica the kind of support he didn't have growing up. And his message for those kids is simple, one he embodies himself.
You have to always be your #1 cheerleader. No matter, yes, you need the support and you need people to cheer for you, but you got to cheer for yourself louder than anyone else. And you have to believe in yourself. No matter who doubt you, don't give up.
What an awesome man.
Yes, so great meeting him. Such a delicious dish. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, you're still savoring it.
I am, and actually I was thinking I made salmon last night, but when I was cutting it up and mixing it up as I was about to put it on the stove, I was like, oh, look at me, like carrying with me some things I learned from Chef Patrick.
Chef Janae.
Yeah. Mwah. That's it from us today.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not Chef Gio, but I'm Gio.
He's Gio. Gio's back tomorrow. I'm gone, so have a good weekend. Enjoy Gio tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
You're going to Miami. Bye.